it just seemed like this was the worst possible time to face the Miami Heat. And with all that said, it was a winnable game for the Kings. You start thinking about all the possibilities. Oh, man, if they do this or they do this better, they could probably have found a way to hand Miami its 8th straight loss. But Miami they came out. And reading the stuff from Tuesday, they had a real honest, film session. It was described as brutally honest with each other. There was talk about effort. Spoelstra was asked by reporters, what adjustments? And he's like, it's about emotional toughness, physical toughness, schematics, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yep.
Schematics doesn't matter. We didn't even focus on scheme. We are focused on us, effort, toughness. They need to fuel us. And I went, oh, shit. The defending Eastern Conference champs. Jimmy's going to come out aggressive, and it's going to be a tough one. The Kings are going to have to take a punch. And the Kings did take some punches in this one, but it comes down to this, Morgan.
Oh.
If Fox is going to have a night like this where he's 4 of 16 and 1 of 8 from 3, if the bench is going to be a non-factor, Malik Monk, I don't need you to score 20, but when you give me 6 points and 0 assists, and then on the other side, Jimmy does his thing. Hero and Rozier were money as playmakers tonight. And then Richardson comes off the bench and drops 24. Woo. You're going to lose. It's 115-106 the final.
Yeah, that was it. In post-game, we put down some notes of why they lost. And that was the easiest way to summarize it. Now, there was other moments throughout this game, and even Mike Brown was asked about, for example, the offense and their shooting. And Miami, when they were putting that backcourt pressure on, it was like, okay, this is tough. This is slowing them down. But then it would lead to only having 12 seconds in that half-court offense. So right there, they're already going scramble mode. Okay, we have to get something off. Our offense is disrupted. We don't get a run all the way through our actions. Oh, and then Miami throws this zone at them. And the zone always messes up some teams a few plays, but I felt like the Kings weren't willing to make quick adjustments. And then you always hear this, Deuce. You always go, hey, this Kings team, good shooters on this team. If they're going to have an open shot, I want them to shoot it. They need to just keep shooting, shoot. I get all of that. But I've been watching basketball for a really long time. I played basketball all my life. And I think as a player, as someone even that coached basketball, it's like you get it when there comes a time that you have to get in the paint and score. You have to see that ball go through the net. You have to just break down a defense in a different way than keep on chucking up shots just because you're a good three-point shooting team. Because sometimes you're just not going to have those nights. And tonight, it wasn't that night for the Kings.
I think your point about Miami's defense is interesting because I was watching their game against Phoenix, and they did the same thing. They were putting full court pressure on the Suns, and then once it was cross half court and into the offense, they went into their zone defense. In that zone defense, Miami runs a lot of zone defense. They run more than any other team in the league. And what's been problematic for them over the last few games before tonight, the communication wasn't there. I think part of it, Rozier trying to get used to playing in this new scheme, trying to get used to the zone, just trying to get used to the defense, the offense, playing with Hero. He's not just chucking. You got to play within the system. And there were so many just breakdowns from a communication standpoint, poor rotations. And tonight, dude, this team was locked in. The full court pressure was good. It impacted the Kings. And even when the Kings played with pace, I felt like they weren't playing with pace the right way. And what I mean by that is, I want you to get the ball up as fast as you can and try to break that. But even when you get into the offense, you don't have to take the first shot. And to your point about the three-point shooting, I felt like they were coming down and just jacking up threes. When they were clicking tonight and when they got back in the game in the second quarter after being down 15, Sabonis was taking the ball, pushing it. They were getting paint touches. They were getting the ball moving, finding the cutters and gaps, hitting the three. It looked good, but there were too many times I felt like the zone was impacting Sacramento.
It was. And I was so used to watching a team last year. And this was, I think I said this to you in so many games last year. Deuce, not only does this team make adjustments game by game, like they could play the same team twice and they'll make adjustments. They were getting better and better at making in-game adjustments. And that is so hard to do. And only the better teams in this league are capable of doing that, because you're able to understand basketball at a high level as a player and understand how to actually make that tweak physically or mentally sometimes. And with this Kings team, when that defense, that zone defense is thrown at them sometimes, I go, okay, you got scrambled up, but now how do you break it? Now how do you get better? And we saw those better moments, but I just felt like it wasn't quick enough.
Yeah, I did feel like they figured it out when
did.
they made that run at the end of the second, when they cut it to 4.5.
Yeah.
That's what I loved. I'm like, all right, you guys got down 14, 15 points. I was worried. Or did they get down as many as 18, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got down by 18, and they cut it to 4 at the half, and it was because they started to do those things where Sabonis was doing a hell of it. Sabonis had an amazing game again tonight. The guy had his 13th triple-double of the season, and he had 14 all of last year. On the night, what he finished with 19 points, 17 rebounds, 13 assists, 7 of 14 shooting, and that was missing some easy ones early. He didn't score in the first quarter.
Yeah.
He was outrageous. But when the Kings got back into it, he was getting a rebound, and that guy was pushing. I thought at times tonight, even the Kings defense had some really good moments, and that's where it's at. It's like, oh, wow, they're able to have some great contests at the rim, really rotating well defensively, playing the gaps well, making sure to use their length. The stat of the night.
Oh, you have a stat of the night?
The Kings in the first half had 11 deflections. The activity was there. It wasn't perfect all the time, but the activity was there. 11 deflections. That's a great number. They had 3 in the entire second half. 3.
Yeah.
And that's where the game shifted. It's like I felt like they did a better job against the zone later in the first half, but that second half came and it felt like the defense became problematic. And that's just puts you in a really tough position when you're locked in, had some good activity, rotations were looking good, then you're getting blown by.
You got to be locked in. I mean, way to say the obvious, Morgan. You got to be locked in all 4 quarters, right? I mean, it's easier said than done. But the only reason why now I ever say it, and I say it confidently, like this team can do that, is because we saw it last year. But then what you see a lot, and again, I get whenever we compare this year's team to last year's team, it's not the exact same. Things have changed. Depth, like players have gotten better. Some players have dropped off. That stuff happens. But what I would have expected to stay consistent would be like mental toughness, effort, discipline, like all the controllables. And I feel like a lot of the controllables are also things that have taken a dip, whether it's an in-game adjustment, whether it's not even that I'm questioning everyone's effort. I'm just confused at times why there's a first half where the defense is looking so much better than the second. And I'm not here to give Miami Heat a whole bunch of credit for the way that they were playing offense. But I will say this, Jimmy Butler attacking the way that he was attacking did screw with them even more and did open up more things. So sure, I'll give some love to that. But I still thought that they could have done a better job defensively, even with that happening.
I felt like I was just chalking up Jimmy for a big night. It was about how are you going to handle the others? But you're right. Jimmy set the tone for them. He was super aggressive. He was trying to get guys in foul trouble, whoever was on him. HB was on him. Okay, that was going to be problematic. Keegan got switched on him. And Jimmy, guy's just such a foul merchant. That guy is always trying to get foul calls. Love him because he plays with an edge and toughness. I'm not hating on the guy, but God, it's frustrating. He had 31 points, super efficient, 10 of 14 shooting, 9 of 12 at the free throw line. He also had 7 rebounds and 6 assists in this game. He was a problem, and he really got it going in that third quarter. That's where I felt like a lot of defensive breakdowns happened, and Jimmy got his. And then you're like, okay, now it's more of a gap. It's going to be a challenge. The other thing that was big for them tonight, Hero and Rozier combined for 17. on the surface, you're like, you'll take that. Rozier's 1 of 8. The problem is they had 18 assists and just 3 turnovers. Those two.
I was like, wait.
18 assists and 3 turnovers between those two. Hero was making good decisions. The pick and roll was problematic. Bam had an impact. And then off the bench, Josh Richardson, 24 points, 9 of 15 shooting, 6 of 10 from 3. There are a couple of times the Kings went under on screens with him, and I'm like, well, I don't care if he's been struggling this year. I go track record of his career.
Yep.
The guy can knock down threes, and you can't give him looks. All of a sudden, he's knocking down shots. He's playing with confidence. He plays a little bit of an edge. And when that bench outscored Sacramento, what was it, 47 to something?
Do you want me to get it?
I thought I was on the box score.
It's okay.
Man.
It is. Wait. Bench points?
Yeah.
47-18.
47-18 Miami.
Yep.
So you can handle Jimmy having a good night. You can't handle Josh Richardson dropping 24 on
off
you
the bench
and efficiently.
Yes, and that's what's and you know,
I thought their bench played well when they came in there and they went the zone. Kevin Love too had some really nice moments.
He absolutely did, and I thought too with Richardson knocking down 24. That was the other thing I was going to say was Keegan talked a little bit about him and his game, and it was like, look, he's a streaky shooter in this league, but when he gets one going and he's on fire, then it doesn't stop. And that's where it's like, shit, we might have not game planned for that, but how can we adjust in game again? How can we make sure that we are understanding that just because we game plan for a certain type of personnel and a certain type of shooter that night, that it might have changed. So let's make sure to fight over screens. Let's navigate them differently. Let's just change up a few things. That didn't feel like it was being changed. I thought they did a good job every time that they were running back after some of these runs, like especially that 13-0 run in the second quarter when the Kings got it within 4, I believe, going into the half. And I thought they did a really good job of being resilient and trying to match the Miami Heat's tone and energy. And that was one of my biggest worries coming in tonight. And Deuce, you already touched on it. They were going to come out punching. They were going to come out with a different type of energy. And you and I said it on the pregame show. We said, okay, if you're the Kings, don't just match their tone, set the tone, and then have them match it.
Yeah, and I thought they had some of those moments earlier, like I talked about defensive, like the Kings competed, you know, and I think what ended up killing them tonight is just poor shooting too. You know, we talked about the zone forcing some bad shots, but then like, look, De'Aaron going 4 of 16, 1 of 8 from 3. And he's been such a good 3-point shooter. We'll talk more about his 3-point success this year, but he had 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers in 36 minutes. I on these nights, I'm like, man, I need you to attack a little more. And that's where I start questioning just a little bit more of, all right, are you good with attacking? I know this was challenging to attack this Miami defense too with some of the, you know, how they're defending the Kings at times. But I just, that's where I keep going back to, man, he's got to be dinged up a little bit if he has these games where he relies on the 3-point shot. And maybe he's just like, no, you know what? Live with it because I'm shooting 39% this year. I take 8 a game, and most nights they're going to go down efficiently. So this was a night they didn't go down, and now you guys want to break it down like I'm some bad shooter or something. It's like, it's not that. I just know he's got the ability, and he showed the last few games of like
pure dominance.
Be effective at all 3 levels, in the mid-range, play with pace.
But pure dominance in the mid-range and in the paint usually. And that's where I understand. I understand the mindset, but I also understand the mindset. I understand the mindset of like Kings fans and people even analyzing the game, wanting that. I get that. That makes a lot of sense, right? But you gotta also try to put yourself in his shoes, and you have to think about what his mentality is. And his mentality is, I'm a 39% 3-point shooter. I can shoot the shit out of the ball. I have, and I'm off a little bit. Doesn't mean you go away from it. It means that you keep trying to experience it, get better, get better, get better. And it sucks when it leans into an L obviously on the record. But when it's a bad shooting night from Fox and it's a W, you can maybe live with it a little bit more, being like, okay, what's he trying to do? What can he adjust? What can he learn from that?
And I think on that, like, I get it. You want to remain confident, but, like, put the ball on the floor. When De'Aaron Fox is putting pressure on the defense and showing to be a threat in the mid-range where he could stop and pop or take it to the rack.
Oh, my God.
Even if he's not attempting it, it's, hey, maybe he's putting enough pressure on the defense to collapse it and spraying out for three. And then the ball is rotating. Miami's working harder defensively. Maybe you're attacking and you're getting Bam into greater foul trouble. He had some foul trouble early in this game. So it's just trying to pick your spots a little better in these moments and understanding, like, hey, the three may not be falling tonight. I definitely want to keep shooting it. I'm not going to, like, all of a sudden just go away from it, but we need a bucket here. Can I just get a bucket?
And I think that I like that. I like the mental shift, and we saw that in a few of these wins too, where we're like, damn, well, he had a really good fourth quarter. You know, he wasn't playing well here, but then he had a good fourth quarter. Oh, wow, this was a great all-around game. And I think that shift he needs to make mentally is exactly that, is like my team needs a bucket, and that bucket needs to be what I'm best at, not what I'm getting pretty good at, which is his 3-point shooting, 39% on the year. But what I'm great at and what I know that I can get something, whether it's get to the free throw line and or make a mid-range shot or get all the way to the rim.
The Kings ended up taking the lead in the third quarter. Then Miami got it back, did a really good job of trying to put this one away. They ended up taking a 10-point lead with 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. The Kings cut the gap to 90-84 at the end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter, that's when the Heat really got it going, and it just felt like they kind of sucked the life out of the Kings. They did such a great job. We mentioned Hero and Rozier with 18 assists. They finished as a team with 38 assists on 42 makes. The Kings pick and roll coverage at times wasn't good. I mean, we did like a film breakdown and post game on TV, and
there was a lot of good.
It was showing the early first quarter stuff, and I'm like, man,
that was great.
This Kings defense is on a string. Like they're
hands
getting big,
up.
hands up. I mentioned the deflection number in the first half. They were contesting. I thought Sabonis had some incredible contests at the rim, staying vertical. Herter had some really nice defensive moments, but they're not able to string it together. And the bench let him down tonight too. You know, I felt like Monk is a guy we got to talk about because he's been so good this year. He's in a stretch where he's in a funk.
Yeah.
And I understand you're going to miss shots. I feel like right now he's pressing. He's pressing a little bit. And when he's coming in there, it's forcing some things. Too many turnovers for him. I want to look at his. I think he ended up with 3 turnovers. He did that in 14 minutes. Okay, so he was 3 of 8 in 14 minutes, had 6.0 assists, 3 turnovers. You can't be having those type of mistakes. You know, Mike Brown's talked about this before, but when Malik has 2 or 3 in a game when he plays 25, you know,
and
close to 30 minutes and good basketball, but he also has like 10 assists.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You can live with it. You can't live with it here. You can't live with it against this Miami Heat team. The Kings only had 9 turnovers as a team, but I felt like Malik's, it didn't feel good, and I felt like his shot selection wasn't great either. He had some defensive breakdowns.
Yes.
He really hurt them tonight.
He's got to let the game come to him.
Yep.
And not forcing things. I get it. It's sometimes hard, especially when you want to step up for your team, especially when you're coming off the bench. Which, by the way, I know with Sasha out, it still feels like some of these rotations are a little weird. And just a quick note, JaVale McGee I liked what he did in his time out there. He played a lot more under control. But yeah, Malik Monk is usually the leader of that second unit and is the guy that's like, all right, doesn't even take a dip from the first unit to the second unit, because Malik Monk, it could be a starter in this, in this league. And you're just not seeing that right now. I'm not worried about it. Mr. First Team, all confidence, like, it will come back, and these slumps happen in the year. I just feel like what we've seen, though, we talked about this on the way back, we have not seen this Kings team, it feels like, have a couple consistent, complete games where it's like good team basketball, good team basketball, good team basketball.
Yeah, like everyone's playing well.
Yes.
Think about this Kings season. They're sitting at 27-19. They're still in a good spot. Like this win, I mean, losing sucks. Every game is, I hate losing, blah, 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 blah. We get it. But you had the start of the year where Keegan and Herter start off ice cold. Keegan kind of got out of it, and then Herter was just kept being bad for like 30 games. You know, Harrison Barnes had that one opener against Utah, and then very inconsistent. And you're like, okay, it seems like it's just Fox, Sabonis, and Monk, a little bit of Keegan. And then Keegan woke up out of it. Like, oh, cool, Fox, Sabonis, Keegan, Monk, they're playing well. Can anyone else play well? And you weren't getting much else from anyone else. And then Fox dips. Then Monk dips. Herter comes out. Sabonis stays up. Keegan a little up and down, but more up now. And it's like,
Barnes, special epic games, and then it's like, where'd you go?
Harrison Barnes had like 3-4 games in a row. Oh, there he is contributing. And then tonight, he had 9 points, 5 rebounds. He missed some shots, a lot of shots. He was 4-13, 0 for 6 from 3. So all of a sudden, his last 2 games, he's 2 for 16 from 3. And I'm like, I'm not ignorant. Like, it's hard to have everyone clicking. But it seems
Absolutely.
It's not even like, oh, they're playing kind of good. It's like, it's either you've got a few guys playing awesome or everyone else playing like terrible. Like, where's the balance? Let's talk about the good from tonight.
Please.
There was some good. Let's start with Keegan Murray. How have we been on for like a half hour and we have not talked about Keegan Murray? What a bounce back. Last game against Memphis, he had 5 points. 4 turnovers.
Ugh.
He did not look like himself.
No, he did not.
He didn't look good. He only played 25 minutes. Tonight, he came out, did a great job defending Tyler Hero early on. He had to switch on to Jimmy Butler at times. But most importantly, he was the guy offensively that was knocking down shots early for Sacramento. He finished with 33 points. He had 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. He did it on 12 of 18 shooting. He was 7 of 11 from 3. The Kings only hit 12. They hit 12 threes. He hit 7 of them.
Crazy. Well, crazy needed. And in that first half, he had 21 points, tying a season high first half. So he was their offense. Obviously, we already mentioned this too. Domas was scoreless in that first quarter, finally added 9 in that second quarter. So I felt like when Domas started really getting things going too, it helped. It allowed Keegan to be a little bit more open from beyond the arc. It allowed Keegan to get a little bit more confident because he had another guy that was a threat out there. And so, yeah, Keegan looked confident. He looked good. I love seeing what he was doing in the mid-range. I even said to you when he curled around a body and just little jump shot, midi, I was like, that shot was completely different than the other shot the other night.
Yeah.
Completely different.
He had one where he got the ball in the corner, pump fake, drove, and dunked. That was pretty sweet, too. I just felt like he had a nice bounce back after a really rough outing against Memphis. And I was curious how he's going to respond against this Miami team because they can play physical, right? And they throw a whole bunch of different things at you. He didn't seem like he was rattled. My one critique would be, can we get him more looks in the second half, especially when he gets it going? But overall, I thought Keegan was really good tonight. 33 points for him. Do you think he deserves the Rock and Soul Player of the Game? You could mention Sabonis too, but we give it to Keegan Murray. 33 points, 5 rebounds, 2 blocks. We mentioned the 12 of 18 shooting, 7-11 from 3. Our Rock and Soul Player of the Game.
This is how you know it's not one of those terrible losses because you didn't give it to an opponent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and and you know what? We acknowledge the bounce back.
Yeah.
He had a rough game. It was not pretty against Memphis, and I thought he did everything from knocking down threes, putting the ball on the floor, playing good defense.
Yep.
He did a lot out there. A Rock and Soul Player of the Game. Check out Rock and Soul in Sacramento, just 6 blocks from Golden One Center. They are the best. These are the games with Keegan too, where I'm like, he's doing the right things out there. He's talking about what we've been talking about. It's like, hey, don't just rely on the three. Pump fake. Get the mid-range. Pump fake. Drive. Go dunk. Make the right plays. Hit some shots. Don't be rattled. Play with some force. I really liked his game. And it's why you get excited about him long term. You know, I know we got Keegan Murray watch in the chat, the big fan of his, saying he could be an all-star in year 3. I don't know. But what I do know is I am super high on his ability to be an all-star because I've seen the flashes here in year 2. He's taken such great strides defensively as we've chronicled throughout the season. But when you see outings like this offensively, you start to really think that ceiling is even higher than maybe we even realize.
Well, I mean, even talking about that, it's not just us. It's not just us covering the Kings, watching them all the time. You know, we were talking earlier about the trade deadline and how Bobby Marks had made some comments about the Sacramento Kings. And every time he talks about what the Kings can do when it comes to contracts, all these different things, and being smart about what type of moves you make, he goes, listen, Keegan's going to be, you know, max contract guy. Like, you're going to end up paying, assuming that he is, and it seems like he is going in that direction. Like, that is what the Kings think their future is. That is what a lot of people around the NBA see and understand why the Kings would go in that direction with their future. And I think more and more people are starting to notice that. But it's funny, when you do have a quieter, like, composed future star like player, they fly under the radar a little bit more because it's just, I don't know, there's just something about it that just doesn't pop out to people, and that's fine. Just sleep on it a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it's a big reason why the Kings feel like they don't have to take a ginormous swing here, because if you are and you're trying to get the mega star, I don't even know who's out there. They're going to ask for Keegan. You know, it's just like the OG trade. It's like Masai's going, can we have Keegan Murray? No, because you're believing that this guy at 6'8", 6'9", with what he has shown you offensively, now what he's showing you defensively, can be that guy. He's on a rookie scale contract. Then you give him a rookie extension. Like, these are the things you want to do, is you want to nail the draft and keep these guys around, develop them. He's exactly the type of player that you want on your team long term, and where the NBA is going. I mean, I think he is going to be a special talent in the league. So he was awesome tonight. Next guy, seems like he's awesome every night. Domantas Sabonis. He missed some good looks early. You know, Bam and Miami throwing everything at him. He still managed to play his ass off like usual. Sabonis, 19 points, 17 rebounds, 13 assists, 7 of 14 shooting. He knocked down his only 3 of the game. It's his 29th consecutive double-double. He has 42 on the season. His 13th triple-double of the season. He had 14 all of last year. The guy is playing some incredible basketball right now. And he had to deal with Bam, too, which is not an easy task whatsoever, right? So I thought Sabonis was really strong tonight. What I appreciate about him, he just plays hard. He was, I mean, the Kings, the game looked out of reach with like a minute and a half to go. That guy was getting a rebound and pushing like it was a 2-point game.
And that is someone that I feel like all season long, every single night you can rely on for that. There was a few games in the beginning of the season where we're like, is he not going to push through some of these bigger guys in the league? Everyone's like, this is why you need a different big. Oh my God, what are we doing? And now you're seeing him drop triple doubles like it's nothing. It's part of his job now. And if he doesn't have a triple double, we're all like, was it his best night? Could he have done more? Which is bizarre. Just crazy to even think about him as a playmaker, him being able to go through bigs like Bam and or find a way to score with his footwork on them. His level of intensity all the way through the fourth quarter, every single game, is what this team, I hope this whole team can like rally behind and find a way to find their inner Sabonis.
It's the effort. It's the force all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Even going back to something Spoelstra said after the game, I feel like we're doing a lot of heat culture stuff tonight.
Heat culture.
Heat culture. But he was saying, like, sometimes we don't. It doesn't matter the result. It's about the process. It's like if you put on a Heat jersey, there's certain expectations, effort, accountability. Like we're gonna play hard.
Yes,
you're gonna feel us. And he goes, during that last stretch, we weren't ourselves at all. My point to that is every time Sabonis puts on that jersey, that guy plays one way. He was actually asked about that, Morgan. God, I should dig this up.
Where was he asked it?
He was asked after last game. And it was just such a great answer. Kyle Draper asked him just about how he always plays hard, right?
Okay.
And I'm going to just find it. And who cares if it's not the smoothest thing?
I never care.
I'm like the one that cares on that. But Draper had asked him about where he gets that mindset to like always play hard. And his answer, loved it. Here's what he had to say.
When I watch you, I look at how hard you play, the effort, no matter it's game 1, game 40, no matter who's on the floor. Where does that come from?
I mean,
competitiveness or dad?
No, it's the passion for the game. We love this game. You love your job, right?
Love my job.
Exactly. So we get to play this every night. So I'm just excited to go out there and have this opportunity. It's going to end one day, and I'm going to be watching and be like, damn, I wish I was out there.
Oh, it could almost bring me to tears.
Love that man. Love that man. Yeah, people want to point out, and not so much in Sacramento, outside here, want to point out like, oh, he doesn't do that. He can't do that, blah, blah, blah. This guy is so skilled. He's not the tallest big guy out there. He's not the longest big guy out there. But that dude has a passion to like just play basketball the right way. He wants to share with his teammates, sometimes to a fault. He wants to play hard all the time. He's going to bust his ass defensively no matter what. He's going to fight for rebounds no matter if he's getting clawed in the face, hit in the face, punched in the back, stomped on the chest. That guy just plays through it. And that mindset is the mindset that I want everybody to have. Like you were saying, just have that mindset, because you're right. If you're not aiming to be great at this, what are you doing it for?
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Passion,
Yeah.
passion can drive people to the limits. Love that. Appreciate that. Love being around people that are that passionate about their jobs or whatever that they do in life. Just absolutely connect. Love it. Now, you say that about other people, and there are some people who are in this league just to make money and it's like, and when we say that, we can't act like that's not what you should do. Everybody's different. And I wish everybody was as passionate about the game of basketball as Domas Sabonis. I mean, we talk to former players and you hear how some don't even watch the game anymore because they just never connected to it like that. They always felt like it was work or whatever. And then there's others that were even in their playing days were like not watching film because they just understood it at a different level and they like to study at a different level. And I get all the different ways. I don't connect to those different ways. I think because like we've talked about before, like basketball is in our blood. Like we are passionate about basketball, but those are the type of players that you search for, where it's in their blood. And that's why sometimes like, even when you get to trade deadlines and free agency and all these things, when you go, why don't you want that guy? Or why don't you want that guy? Because sometimes you truly need those type of guys in your system. And especially guys that are coachable and that you can bring something different out of. And the way that Sabonis has taken his game to the next level and has that passion, it's like you don't ever let go.
Yeah, I liked how he played this game tonight. And he was a big reason why the Kings made runs tonight to get back into the game and make it a game. Even in the fourth quarter, they made a run to make it a game. Unfortunately, mistakes, defensive breakdowns, and then missed shots just killed them in a lot of ways. De'Aaron Fox had a rough night. We talked about that. He was 4-16, 1 of 8 from 3. But we should note this, that one 3-pointer he made was a big one. Last year, he made 119 threes in 73 games played last season, right? Last year. 119 and 73. He hit his 120th three this year in his 40th game of this season.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool. And I mean, look at shooting 39% from 3-point land.
Dipped a little bit tonight after going 1 of 8.
But shooting efficiently
Yep.
for over the year,
Yep.
right? For over the season at least. You know, I know like the last couple of games wherever he's not shooting that as good as he was from 3-point land, some people are like, why is he still doing that? Why is he still doing it? It's for that exact reason, because it has been his most efficient year, and he believes he's a shooter that can only keep getting better.
I mean, that's just, he put in the work over the offseason, and that number is a big deal.
It is.
To hit 120 in 40 games after your career mark before that was 119, and you did it
In 73 games.
I mean, that's impressive. And so it's good to see the areas of growth in his game. I think his defense has been a lot better on the whole this season. He's averaging career best in steals. He's top 3 in the league in deflections too. The engagement's been a lot better for him. Obviously, tonight, not his best night, 4-16, but hopefully he bounces back for the Kings, because can't really survive if he's doing that.
No, you can't.
Oh, one other good note.
What?
We mentioned that good number from De'Aaron Fox. Kevin Huerter love real fast.
Oh, my God. Give him lots of love.
Kevin Huerter last 8 games. It's coming back. The numbers are up big time. Fine. That's cool. You can tell me about the numbers. He is doing the other things out there. And I thought again tonight, he had some really strong defensive moments. He's battling out there. He's using his length. He's making sure he's getting deflections. He's making sure he's contesting shots. He had some good moments in that Dallas game too. I think he's one of the guys that feels like he's turned the corner a little bit after just a brutal start to the season. It's good to see him not only knocking down shots, but finding other ways to impact the game. The rebounding's been better. The defense has been better. The playmaking's been better. I'm glad to see him rolling a bit, because the Kings are a much different team when he is playing good overall basketball.
Talk about some mental shift there. And, you go, he's such a confidence guy, right? Like, he needs to feel good out there so that his confidence is with him. If he's shooting well, then he's doing all the other things well. I think whatever fire was lit under his ass, or confidence that was taken away from him, I think something happened to him where he wanted it back. He wanted the minutes back. He wanted the confidence back. He didn't want to feel whatever the hell he was feeling. And he understood what that was going to take. And it wasn't going to take making his 3-pointers. It was going to take doing all the other things that we keep talking about. And you had like a breakdown in the pregame about all the other things that he has been doing. And you're exactly right. Him actually understanding how to utilize his length, understanding how he can be a good defender, not even like, hey, at least he's not a liability. No, he can be a good defender out there because of his body size, because he is a high IQ player. And it's like, do all the right things. And that's what he's starting to do, keeping his hands up on defense. That alone, you're taking away the vision, you're disrupting an offense, you're getting deflections, and then sometimes you're making it go the other way in transition. It's just, he's been doing those things, going in, fighting for rebounds. I love what Kevin Huerter has been adding lately.